Welcome to the Mexpreneurs Podcast, the podcast about the stories of Mexican tech startup founders who are building world-class, fast-growing companies and having a positive impact at a large scale. My name is Sergio Chavez. I'm a Mexican based in Germany, a tech startup founder, executive, and mentor, and your host. Today we have Sebastián Guerrero with us. Sebastian is the co-founder and CEO of Freela, a future work startup based in Dubai in the United Arab Emirates. Freela is a self-management platform that features the tools and perks freelancers need to run their daily business routine, acting as a freelancer's back office. It is built by freelancers for freelancers. Freela serves customers across Mexico, the Middle East, and other emerging economies. The company was founded in 2023, and 4 months after its go-live, it reached 3,500 users. It also participated in prestigious accelerator programs such as the LSE Generate Incubation in the UK, Pygma in Colombia, and the Founder University by Jason Calacanis in the US. It also completed its pre-seed round, raising over $400,000. Sebastian is originally from Guadalajara, Mexico. His parents introduced him to the Middle East and other fast-growing emerging economies from an early age. He studied marketing in Mexico and later worked for a branding agency, which allowed him to lead the agency's expansion into Dubai. In parallel, Sebastian started his entrepreneurial journey first as a founder of the Centro de Asesoría Escolar y Tecnológica, CAET, a social impact high school in Mexico, followed by Freela and other ventures. I hope you enjoy. Support for this episode comes from Partnership Leaders, the leading community of partnership professionals and executives in SaaS and tech with over 1,500 members globally. We're living the decade of the ecosystem, and every CEO needs to become a partnership leader. Just take a look at the top companies in the world today like Microsoft, Google, and Apple. They have all become platform companies, and partnership executives in IT have been the ones leading these transformations. Partnership Leaders brings these executives together and is building a playbook to enable CEOs and business leaders across industries to transform their organizations into platform companies. If you're a tech startup founder, Partnership Leaders is the place for you to learn how to leverage partnerships to take your business to the next level. I'm a member of PL and co-host of the Germany chapter and have seen firsthand the richness and value of this incredible community. Visit partnershipleaders.com to learn more and to apply to become a member. Make sure to mention in your application that Mexpreneurs referred you so you can receive a special price if your application is accepted. Hello, Sebastian. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, Sergio. Thank you for hosting me here. It's such a pleasure.
Thank you, Sebastian. So please tell us, who is Sebastián Guerrero?
He's a Mexican trying to follow his dream in Dubai. That is followed by the word of resilience.
And a Mexican in Dubai. How exactly did a Mexican in Dubai, how a Mexican ended up in Dubai?
It's not a coincidence. It's something that was planned. It has a plan over the last 15, 17 years. I got a chance to travel to Dubai when I turned 15, and my family brought me here. My mom was trying to show me the difference between some emerging economies. They're not focusing on develop themselves as an economy, and emerging economies that they're pushing to develop and hustle to the point where Dubai is at the moment. Since that day, she mentioned, if you like this lifestyle, if you like what is here, that I'm not talking about all this flashy city life. I'm talking about the security, the safety, the convenience of being in a city where everything is like a satellite, like it's a lab where everything can be tested, everything can be run and by a screen. Based on that, I say, well, this is where I want to live. This is what I feel it's the place where I want to develop my company, and here I am.
So it was your parents, your mom, who exposed you to Dubai in the first place. And was it only Dubai, or you also had the chance to see other countries, other emerging economies?
At a time on that specific trip, was a trip to Egypt and the UAE. And obviously at that time, Burj Khalifa was under construction. It was only Burj Al Arab and many other areas that at the moment now are the old areas in Dubai. And I saw just a couple where they were seem very happy. And I was like, man, this is exactly what I want. And I'm gonna just pursue my dream till the point when I'm gonna be able to move.
And why exactly Middle East, like Egypt, UAE? Because of course there's many emerging economies, many exciting countries. But why exactly did your parents took you to Egypt and UAE?
To be completely fair, I think, and honest, I think was my mom's decision. I don't know. ask her. But I think she's a businesswoman and she saw what I was coming to Dubai, right? What Dubai will eventually become at the time. And guess it's why I also extremely grateful from the family I came from and the kind of input that they give me since I was a child to just not just look at the first picture and trying to analyze what can come after multiple tries to achieve something, right? And I feel that the UAE was meant to be for this, right? The UAE, for me, the way I call it is and startup government and a startup country. And the magic of being here as an entrepreneur is that once you're trying to build something, you need to feel safe and you need to feel that whatever you're doing is for a reason and that your partners in any kind, like micro partners, macro partners, are following the same mindset. And this is what happened with this government. In a way, it's every trying to develop themselves, trying to improve as a government, improve as a city. And you can feel that you're building something little that can become big. They are already something big that it can become tremendously big. And these guys are doing the same that you're doing, every day trying to evolve, every day trying to pivot, every day trying to get into the product market fit.
And you were mentioning also as part of your introduction about a Mexican in Dubai following his dreams, if I'm not mistaken. So what are those dreams, Sebastian?
Well, the main dream, I think, is obviously trying to pursue happiness, to exceed what is happiness, but at the same time, succeed in a way that I want to be able to provide jobs for many people.
And well, that's a fantastic segue into entrepreneurship. But before we dive into your entrepreneurial journey, I would just like to understand. So, because you're originally from Guadalajara, if I'm not mistaken. So you went to Dubai and Egypt. You had the opportunity to see firsthand the Middle East, but then you went back to Mexico. You then studied at the TESO. What happened next?
I knew since I was a child what I wanted to be in terms of degree, in terms of my bachelor's. But in the process to get into the uni was so tough for me because I feel like I overdeveloped my social skills in a way, but also not really good at school. I was abusing of the sense of being good at the school, so I was just not really putting too much time into the school, just trying to make sure that every year I will pass. Big part of something very important in my life is when I got the chance to play for first time rugby. Basically, most of what I am as a person at the time is the values of that sport. And in those crazy days where I was sometimes loose and not lost, loose, my mind was loose and I was like here and there and trying to just enjoy life. Rugby came into my life and it showed me the discipline, it showed me the values of making team building, and it showed me the values of also succeed as I became a national team player. And that was the reason where I decided to focus all my energy and all my craziness. Reason why then the uni give me the chance to focus on, okay, you can be crazy, but you also need to be 100% sure where you want to be and what is going to take you to get to there, right? So this is what happened. I'm originally from my hometown is Guadalajara. I'm just another one in that city trying to follow his dreams. And for me, obviously, Guadalajara becoming such a tech hub in the country helps me a lot to understand that there was something there that every single person in Guadalajara, a student in Guadalajara, should take at least some time to analyze if wants to be part of what these high-tech companies at the time when I was in uni start coming, like Oracle, Intel, and all that, right? Just to know, like, okay, what's that industry, what it's about, and why to put the time there. But at the same time, Sergio, it was challenging because I don't personally feel, and I mean, we're both from Mexico, but I don't personally feel that Mexico push you too much to get outside of the country. And I also don't feel that in Mexico push you too much to get into like corporate executive roles globally. I don't see, and I don't remember. I'm grateful of the uni where I studied, and it was such an amazing journey of being good at what I was pretending to be as a marketer. But the uni never pushed me to focus on going international and all that stuff. And now that I'm in Dubai, where 90% of the population is expat, you can tell, man, like there's Colombians, there's many other Latin American countries, nationalities here that they have the mindset, especially Colombian people, they have the mindset to overseas, to go across the world and get into executive roles in these big firms, right? Big banks, all that stuff where I don't know. Maybe it's because I'm from Guadalajara and not from Mexico City, but that happened to me where I never had somebody tell me, push, trying to go international, right? So again, as I say, I'm fully grateful from where I came from and the family I have, because since I was a baby, my parents got their masters in Madrid. So that was my first 2 years experience overseas. Then I got a chance also to live in Asia. I got a chance to live in Boston. So all those stuff made me understood that for me, it was outside of Mexico where I belong, trying to represent in the best shape possible my flag, right?
And you were a national rugby player, in the Mexican national team from rugby?
Yeah, not for quite some time in the sense of, well, at the end of the day, I was not that guy that the discipline was following me. Based on that, it was more the talent. But again, rugby is the reason I get into the discipline, I get into team building, I get into like, okay, man, it cost me quite some time to adapt my personality to rugby, but then rugby showed me the road.
And you went to the uni, and I fully agree with everything that you mentioned in terms of these. I think we're not always pushed into that track of going global, going big into a big corporation and so forth. But I think Guadalajara at that time was becoming that tech hub with big corporations joining and so forth. But then, so you were at the university studying marketing, your bachelor in marketing. And then, if I'm not mistaken, you started working first as a marketing consultant?
Well, not marketing consultant, was branding consultant. I was a brand strategist. I started working for this firm, which basically focus on all the spectrum or all the industry of marketing and agencies. We can see the big corporations that belongs to big networks, right? Like Omnicom and all that stuff. Then you have independent agencies focus on one of the specific services. And then you have all these loose agencies that they offer everything based on all the methodologies that the big firms or the big independent niche firms, they develop. I got a chance to be in this firm from Guadalajara, which they were just doing something. You know, they were just doing the brand strategy. They were just selling the brand strategy. They were not focusing on a 360 services, and they were followed by their own methodology. And it was the same mindset that it was. These guys were hosting contracts for brands like Dairy Queen and Cars Jr. and different industry, right? There was food service, especially in franchise business. These guys were running strategies from over 34 countries. They were the main firm or the main agency who creates the whole strategy, and then the agencies were able to execute what was the plan designed by them, right? This is my first start as an executive. I started when I was 17 there, just because, again, I was slightly lost on what to follow in terms of the schooling till high school, but I was so sure that I wanted to become a marketer because I came from marketers. So my mom and my dad are linked to the industry. For me, that was all the reason. It was my journey in university was all around this rugby, work, going to study at nighttime, and then also a lot of partying.
And then, so you were a consultant, you were exposed to all these major brands. And what happened next? I'm fascinated because if I understand, it's also been like a roller coaster since then. What happened afterwards, Sebastian?
It happens to specific moments. For me, there's three specific roads that at some point they interconnect, all of them. Let me tell you something. I'm not a person that is followed by the book. I'm not any rebel or any like crazy guy at all. I have ADHD, and I personally think that that's the reason why I need to be interconnected with many purposes and many reasons every day in order to follow what I want to achieve every day. What happened was I started as a brand consultant, brand strategist. Obviously, even at the beginning was not brand strategist. I started in the most junior role available in that firm to become an sales director or commercial director for the firm. So my responsibility was to approach the new clients, the new customers, and say, listen, guys, this is our pitch. We're trying to get into a contract with you guys. And that was my role at the very end, becoming the head of all the commercial side of the firm globally. Once I was in Boston, one of my best friends.
From that point, you moved from Guadalajara to Boston.
Yes, just for a year and a half, and then I came back. But at the time when I was in Boston, I got a chance to have a nice and very proactive and aggressive talk with one of my best friends that he was based in Dublin at the time in Ireland. And when we both came back to our hometown, this idea of, why we don't launch a high school? It was like, what? Yeah, let's do it. So from today, 9 years ago, we decided to launch a high school together, and we were followed by the idea of supporting new students, supporting new ways of building stuff, supporting new lives to get into something stable and something established. And that was the reason. So you can see that my runway is a full roller coaster, but it's always coming with the intention of building something and deliver something for the people. Run strategies give me all that international mindset, give me all that understanding of how to approach big corporations. But then how I entered into the entrepreneurship journey, well, was with this decision to make school where at the moment now I'm just a board member and we host more than 500 students over 2 different schools and about to continue our growth, right? So that was the second road. And the third road, I would say that, as I mentioned, between being a consultant and Guadalajara exposing me to this tech hub that was developing at the time, the agency where I was working suggest or set for me a task to develop a new hub that was able to host startups because the ticket size for the brand agency was completely different. So they were trying to host new startups and we built the whole program. And this is how I went into all tech side.
And you mentioned a lot of super interesting things along the way. And this school that you founded, and if I understand correctly, this school is still running until today. What exactly is it focused on?
It's a vocational school, so we prepare students to become a nurse. We're into nursery, we're into paramedic side, so we give the students one specific chance to succeed. It's not like we develop a program where you can decide what to do. No, it's an academic factory of developing people for the safety and security. It's mainly based on that.
And you mentioned you have 2 schools, so one school is in Mexico and one school is somewhere else?
The schools are outside of my hometown, but yeah, the one is in Tonalá, the other one is in Tala. Now we're focusing on build the third one. But yeah, this is a school that hosts people who's following the idea to get into specific jobs, and we prepare them for that as a vocational school that we are.
And then you mentioned about this new startup hub that you got the chance to create. So what exactly was that?
At the time, as I mentioned, we were working as a brand consultant. So the idea was to develop the same methodology we have, but for new companies, for companies that will come in with a new unique selling proposition, with something different, more related to the tech, because we were working for the food service industry, right? Very traditional and with tons of budget, but it was not giving us something extra to challenge ourselves. So we decided to get into this and we just developed our own methodology, who was basically help all these startups to build a massive brand since the day one, with not subsidizing partially the cost of what it takes you to get into this level of brand efficiency, right?
And that was based in Mexico, but with a global scope, or how exactly was that?
That was, even the agency was attending worldwide contracts for us in that specific time, was only attending startup from Guadalajara, actually.
And you were building that from scratch, and how big did it become? Where is it today?
Today is my own company. We started there. We try, we test. Over the time, we became successful. We succeed with this project. And then it was this other assessment for me that was start developing the offices of this company in different cities. I took the chance to do the soft launch of the office here in Dubai for that firm. And I came. That was, again, obviously being responsible of all the commercial side. I prioritize to put an eye on the UAE, and that's why finally the firm supported me to come and do the soft launch of this firm in the region, right? So I came and I opened the office, I opened operations here, I did that part of my job, and I did my exit from the company to start this new venture. This new venture was taking the lab that we were creating in Guadalajara to offer brand services to startups, to make it into a spin-off from that company to my company, where I was backed up financially for the firm that I used to work. And the first year we were killing it. We made over $300,000 only with 4 consultants. The profits were insane, right? And then one day it clicked in my mind. I was like, as much as I love the services and I'm a service provider, that's not my way to go for the rest of my life. I want to be able to employ tons of people. That's always in my head. And being a service provider, it's very challenging, right? You need to be a big firm in order to hire very sophisticated profiles. So it was like, trying to find a way. And this is where my firm or my lab of brand consulting for startups moving to, with my partners, moving to make one marketplace for consultants and SMEs, which was the massive failure of my life. And from all the ups that we got, all the downs came. Like it's funny because they say everything that goes up so fast goes down immediately, right? And for me, it was the case. That was the first time me facing the reality of failure, and I was already here in Dubai, man. And just I'm blessed that I got the chance to get into different incubation programs where it's interesting because I don't follow any book. I don't follow any book. I don't want to be guided by any book. I like to live the reality. And in that reality, this program incubation called Pygma from Colombia, they accept me. And instead of pushing me to develop more what we had at the time, they say, man, this is not working. You better consider to shut down. I'm like, wow, that's ballsy, but it's true. And it's really true. And it took me some time because you cannot deny that everyone has some ego, especially the founders. We have ego, man. And that's the reason you want to be an entrepreneur, because it takes you some time to adapt. You don't want to be guided by anyone. You want to do your own stuff. You want to, let's just be honest, right? And for me, was a phase of reality, and it took me some time. But also at the same point, I had people that I needed to respond, such as investors, such as business partners that they trust on me, and they were like, follow my directions. And this is when I decided to giving a pause to this product and rethink what to do and where to do. And there was only one thing that was sure from our side. That was in this understanding of the industry, we saw the opportunity to work for independent professionals, such as freelancers. We saw the window there, and we saw that there was nothing at the time hosting a back office support for them. And all what was at the time back in 2020 was just showing marketplaces. There was not like solutions 2.0 for the freelancers. It was not a marketplace. And well, this is where I decided to understand more the industry. And it was only one thing that was for sure for me. I didn't want to go again into the waste of energy and marketing expenses on the chicken and egg solution from the marketplace. That was what comes first, where to put the money first. If you're going to try to collect freelancers, or if you're going to try to collect companies who are going to hire the freelancers. It was a challenge, man. And I say, but I still want to deal with the freelancers. I still want to protect them, because freelancers, and my company now name is Freela, right? It's a back office support for freelancers that came across with multiple tools and multiple perks for the freelancers. So my goal is to not make them feel solo. I like them to make them feel free, but not solo. That's why at some point I was like, okay, let's just start building this as a community. Let's just start building this as a solution for them and see what happens.
From the consulting company, starting with that startup hub, moving into Dubai, starting your first your venture, building this marketplace, and then basically pausing that and then focusing in one specific target segment, which are the freelancers, which, if I understand correctly, that's really the main segment and group that you're focused on supporting. Huh?
Yeah, it's that, Sergio. Like every time I have the chance to be on the mic, I like to say the full truth about everything, right? And the truth is that I came at a time where my first moves, moving to Dubai, was failure over failure over failure over failure, man. I was just not in the right place mentally, I think. And I'm not talking here about mental health and all that. I'm talking about I was just not in the right focus that you need to have in order to succeed building your own company. And I'm saying this for all the folks who are pretending to or are planning to go overseas and build their own. It needs to be by steps, man. Because for me, at the same time that I was just entering to a new culture, entering to a new communities, entering to a new world in my personal life, I was also trying to open a business, right? Trying to start a business. And how come you can just, because both things are new journeys, man. Like we call entrepreneurs all these people who is trying to make their own business, right? But at the same time, you also are kind of like an entrepreneur when you start a new life in a new country, in a new culture. It's your own entrepreneurship, your personal entrepreneurship, but it is a new journey. And if you want to hold two journeys on that scale at the same time, I don't really think that happens so often, and it's hard. And if you are a person who wants to be guided by the book, definitely this is not your journey, because here you add different elements that basically you're signing a contract ready to just get into a roller coaster for 2 years. You need to acknowledge that and you need to be willing to enjoy that, right?
100%. And I can totally relate to it. Like the fact of me moving to Germany and then starting my first company, like I didn't do them at the same time because, as you mentioned, like those are already two big, bold moves. No? Moving physically to another country, starting a new life, and starting a company. And you did both at the same time. So I cannot imagine how challenging it was.
It's, I don't know, maybe it's for me, maybe it works different for others, but for me, it didn't work. And now it's working after the struggle of 2 years of facing the full reality of a full slap of welcome to the real world, man. Also, in order to income and in order to understand that in some specific, in some economies, the mindset is already there. And for example, an American, even if they move to Dubai or an Australian or from wherever, when they are in a junior roles in their countries, in their home countries, they already are getting around $5,000 on a junior role. And for a Mexican, it's tough because you are targeting to get your first $5,000. I don't know where, but it's not at the junior roles. It's in the seniority roles. I mean, just to face that part, to understand that how the world and economies works for others, and why in a country like Dubai, where basically there's it's a multinational community, it's a multinational, many nationalities. So that's a challenge. Just that first understanding, it's a challenge.
And we'll dive deeper into Freela in our next conversation with your co-founders. But what I would love to understand, Sebastian, is now you're based in Dubai. Like, how are you still actively contributing back to Mexico? What is your connection to Mexico nowadays?
I'm bringing jobs to Mexico. And I would say it's not just Mexico, it's Latin America in general. My contribution is to provide jobs to Latin America. It's the way I do it. And well, I say right now, my operative hours are not there in the school, but I'm providing education too. So those two things are the main portions that I give to them.
And Sebastian, I'll be fascinated to learn more. But again, we will dive deeper into Freela and what you're doing currently. But what I would love to, just to wrap up our conversation, is to understand, like, what is your best advice for other aspiring founders out there that are listening to you?
I'm going to put some spicy here because I know it's always the opposite way how you listen to stuff. But for me, I'm not saying that I have the truth. And in fact, maybe for others, it's work smart, work better than work hard. In my case, I face many realities. That much that I needed to develop this not by the book. I would say that every single chance that you have to improve yourself or your game of your company or whatever, take the chance, even if it's not by the book. Because many times we are getting frustrations or we're getting into anxiety, seeing our, like you go into an incubation program and you're with the same batch, and then you saw that the batch where you belong is over succeeding and you're not, you're getting backwards actually, and you start feeling a lot of frustrations in that sense. But also there's many other ways to build yourself, there's many other ways to secure the success of your company, that sometimes is focus on build your personal relationships, because those relationships are the ones that are going to support yourself when the things are crumbling, right? And in that sense, focus not just on succeed with your company, focus on be safe. And I'm not saying all this about personal life, and no, I'm saying with your personal network, sometimes you also can over exceed your company, such as there's different products, and sometimes you say fundraising for the company. But sometimes if you are good enough to make the people trust in yourself because you know that you can give them something, there's different vehicles. There's vehicles like grants, there's vehicles like fundraising for personal decisions. I would say just take the chances and not follow the book all the time. Just be aware and be acknowledged on how the book works. But if you have the chances that they are not as you want or as you wish, well, still is a chance for you. And maybe for some reason, somebody up there is putting you that chance in that way at that specific time. And you don't be greedy on how you want things. Just focus on develop first yourself, because if you don't care of yourself financially, you're fucked. So focus first on how to secure yourself, and then you're going to be willing to secure others, and you're going to be willing to secure your company.
Those were a lot of super valuable golden nuggets in terms of taking care of yourself, building relationships. That's fantastic, Sebastian. So, Sebastian, well, thank you very much for your time. I greatly appreciate the opportunity for us to connect today, and looking forward to our next conversation.
Thank you. Thank you so much. See you guys.
Thank you, Sebastian. And thanks to you for joining us today. Please remember to subscribe via your favorite podcast app to be notified about new episodes and share with us your feedback. We would love to hear from you. Thank you also to the Mexpreneurs team, Valeria Morel, Hector Barragan from Hyper Voltage, Francisco Jaimes, Pamela Elizalde, Katia Cruz, Rocío Marroquín. I am Sergio Chavez. See you next time.